Hi everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. Today is Wednesday, May 26th, and this is Flosstube number 81. And unfortunately, it's been 3 weeks since my last Flosstube. I did a little bit of traveling a week or so ago, and so I had to put off my video last week, but I've got a lot to show you, and hopefully this won't be too long. Because I do have a lot to show, but I didn't buy a lot of haul, and I only have 3 books to talk about, so hopefully this won't be an hour-and-a-half video, but I suppose you know already if it is. For those who are new here, this is a channel about cross-stitch and books, but the books are at the end. So if you're only here for stitching, that is always the first thing I talk about, and then I transition and I talk about what I have read over the last couple of weeks. And if you're not interested in hearing about books, I make it clear that we're done talking about stitching and you can log off. So the first thing I always start with is previous finishes. So I am doing basically like a review of things I finished in 2020. I finished a lot of things in 2020, mostly due to having increased stitching time because of the panorama, the panini, the pandemic, being at home a little bit more and having a little more stitching time. And it was really slow at work, so I had a little more stitching time there too. Regardless, I got a lot of things done in 2020. So I've been kind of recapping those by showing what I finished in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but 1 year ago. So what I finished in May, more or less, in 2020. So what I have to show you today is I finished my, where did I put it? Oh, there it is. Okay. I finished my second house in my Christmas and Nantucket trio. And I finished this on May 8th of 2020. I showed the first house in my last video, and I'll show the third house in my next video. But this was the second house. I called this one Orange Street, and it's finished as a flat fold with some pretty Christmassy fabric on the back. This is stitched on like a 32 count raw linen, and it's mostly DMC with 1 or 2 fancy floss. I think this one has 2 fancy flosses in the house and the tree. These patterns are available on my Gumroad. I will link that down below in the description box. So these are under, my design name is Hemlock Rye Stitchery, and these were, the 3 houses were my very first release, my first set of patterns. And you can get those on Gumroad, you can get those for free, or you can pay what you like for these patterns, but you are certainly welcome to pick those up for free over at Gumroad. The link is down below if you want to go check those out and check out my other designs. So I also finished a Blackbird Design Sewing Club piece, and it's called In My Garden, and I don't have it here because it was a present for my mother for Mother's Day last year, and I finished that on May 11th of 2020. I am going to try to figure out in editing, post-production, how to put a picture on the screen where it's sitting here on the screen, but I'm still talking. I know how to insert a photo and then come back, but I think it would make more sense if I can figure out. I know there's a way, I just need to figure out how to do it. Hopefully you're seeing this now. So this is In My Garden from Sewing Club by Blackbird Designs, and I stitched it with, I think it was mostly all of the called for floss, and if I didn't have like that specific one, I grabbed something from Stash that looked the same color to me. And this is stitched on 36 count Picture This Plus ale linen. And then the next thing I finished was another piece from the Blackbird Designs Sewing Club book, which that book is just so great. I finished on May 17th of 2020, I finished Garden Friends Sewing Bag. However, I did not finish mine as a bag. I finished it as a cute little pillow. And this is stitched with, again, either the called for colors or the closest substitute I had. It's stitched on an XG Design fabric. I think it's called Grandma's Slip, maybe? I don't think it's Grandpa's Sleeve. I think it's Grandma's Slip. And I think it was a 40 count. So I believe that's 1/2 on 40 count. This is some Lady Dot pom-poms. I don't remember the color name. And I finished it just with some random fabric I had in stash. And it came out really cute. So in the book, it's finished as a little cute little pouch bag, but I didn't want to do that. So I did a pillow. So those were my previous finishes from a year ago. I also finished some things in this year. So I finished, I don't remember in my last video if I had actually finished or not. I finished Leela's Studio Coffee Obsessed. I think I might have had it finished last video, but I hadn't fully finished it yet. So I actually fully finished that, and I gifted it to my sister for her birthday. And I took a little video of what it looked like before I gave it to her. So I will insert that here. Hey guys, I wanted to show you really quick my finish. I just realized that the dryer is going in the background, so sorry about that. I'm down in the basement in the craft cave and the laundry's going. Anyway, I wanted to show you this finish because this will be gifted before my next video. So I finished Leela's Studio Coffee Obsessed. This is 40 count linen that I dyed myself, and then some of the called for colors, but if I didn't have the called for, I substituted with whatever I had that was close. So I think you can see it's very much in the vein of the original pattern. And here's my finish. So this is like an ornament, but it's huge, but it's like an ornament finish. So I just took some mat board and cut this shape out. There is some batting under this side to kind of help fluff it up. Then I stretched it. On the back, I didn't put batting. This is just fabric, like flat on the mat board. And then this is Lady Dot mini pom-pom in the color, I believe it's Barn Door. And I just glued that in between the layers and then glued them together. So it's a simple, oh, and then like a ribbon for the hanger. So a nice, simple, flat ornament style finish. Obviously, this is much bigger than an ornament. This is quite large, but I think it came out really cute. So I'm going to gift that, and I just wanted to let you guys see before it goes away. Okay, so then I finished a couple of other things. So I finished a pattern from Abby Top Knot Stitcher. It's called Be My Boo. It was super fast stitch. You can get this over at topknotstitcher.com as a PDF. Obviously this was a Valentine's pattern, but I was not starting new things in January, February, or March. I couldn't start anything until April. So this was something I had wanted to start but couldn't. So I decided this would be a fun, like, quick little weekend project. So I stitched this with the called for floss. So she used 4 colors of Dinky Dyes silk, which you can get at her shop as well. And I changed the fabric. I just grabbed something from Stash. And I finished this. It was really quick to stitch, and I fully finished this. So here it is. It's not like my best finishing work, but I really didn't think I needed to be too precious about this. It's just a cute little pattern. It took me like 2 days to stitch. I don't know, if it was perfectly super straight when I was putting it on the mounting board. Like, I wasn't super worried about it. But this is 28 count Picture This Plus crystal fabric. So it's got some sparkle. No idea if you guys are picking up any of that sparkle. The color is Flapper. And I stitched it with the called for dinky dyes. Now, not Abby's fault, but the gray Be My Boo isn't showing up super great on that fabric. But that was my choice, not hers. So, you in real life, you can see it. I don't know how well it's showing up right now. And then I got this at Michael's, in February, around Valentine's Day. And I thought it would be cute. I had seen someone else do a finish like this. I think it was Alicia Little Redhead Stitches. I think who, if I could be totally wrong, but I'm pretty sure she finished a different pattern like this. And I was like, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I ran to Michael's and found this and knew that this pattern was perfect for it. It's a little Valentine in a little envelope and it says Be My Boo ? So I am very happy with this. And it'll probably just be in my room hanging up year round, not just at Valentine's Day. And then my other finish, this was a start and finish. I don't believe, no, I know I hadn't started this when I filmed my last video, so you haven't seen this, but I started, finished, and fully finished a little kit I had from Chessie and Me. It's called Glory House. And I found this little kit at my my crafty thrift store, the Craft Box. It came with the fabric and the silk and the needle, and that was it. It didn't come with like finishing stuff. But I knew this would be a quick stitch, and it was. It's actually really fun to stitch. But I wanted to just make a little tweak to it. I don't want to get off on like a tangent here, so I'll try to keep this brief. But patriotic stitching is something that I struggle with sometimes, for reasons that will probably, you know, I could really go on about for a while. But I like patriotic designs. I'm drawn to patriotic stitching, but I struggle with it because I think in our current political climate, a lot of patriotic, what's the word I'm looking for? Patriotism in general is, it's been co-opted a little bit by some people who I don't think represent American ideals or me, for that matter. You know, white nationalists and bigots, racists, just not good people, sometimes have kind of stolen like the mantle of patriotism. It makes it sometimes a little off-putting when I see patriotic stuff, because I think, you know, it's been co-opted. And I think we need to reclaim a little bit of that. It's not healthy to be blindly loyal and patriotic. You do need to question, I believe you need to question that, but it's okay to have a little bit of pride in your country, but you know, our country is flawed. So I said I wasn't going to go off on a whole thing. Anyway, point where I'm going with this is that sometimes I struggle with patriotic stitching. And one way I've been able to move past that is to incorporate something, usually a little quote, in that patriotic piece, to kind of bring the focus back to what I think we should be striving for. And I say we, I know not all of my viewers are American, so I do apologize for that. And I'm really only speaking for myself, but myself as an American citizen. I changed this pattern a little bit. I added a quote to it. So the quote I added is from Martin Luther King, and it says now, and it's really tiny, so I'm going to read it to you. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It says, "Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. So this is the teeniest little pillow. Look how little this is. This is 36 count Lakeside linen. So it's a very small pattern. So I added the backstitch quote at the top, which was very fiddly and tedious, but I do like how it turned out. I did some rickrack. I'm not great at this yet. This was maybe my second attempt at trying to sew rickrack into a finish, and I'm still learning, okay? And this is some Lady That velveteen. So this is a little wabi-sabi. It's not perfect. It's so little, it was kind of hard really to sew. But I think it's really cute and I am happy with it. So again, it was a kit, so all the called for silk, and sorry, I'm not really holding that in the center, am I? And then there's the addition I made at the top. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I know that some of you probably were not happy to hear what I just said, but then I think most of those people have probably already long left this channel. So if you were bothered, I don't know what to tell you. It shouldn't really come as a surprise. So whips. Whips are works in progress. What did I work on? Well, I have been working on the Owl Forest Embroidery Alice in Wonderland stitch along. This is a mystery stitch along. I believe it's going to go through the rest of this year. And I don't know when it's going to wrap up. It might be, I mean, it just started May of this year. I don't know if it's going until May of next year or if it's going to be done before then. But it's a long stitch along. But the parts are coming out every 2 weeks. So part 3 just came out and I have not stitched that yet. But I have stitched part 1 and part 2. And I am stitching this with the called for floss. I ordered the floss from Owl Forest. And I'm actually using the called for linen as well. It's Vintage Country Mocha, but I'm using 40 count, so 1 strand of floss over 2 on 40 count. I think they called for 32 count Vintage Country Mocha. But the color is the called for color. So here's where I've got on part 1 and 2. And it's really beautiful and it stitches up really, like, it looks really fiddly and intricate. Like this part I thought was going to be such a pain to stitch, but it really wasn't bad and it actually stitched up pretty fast. So it really hasn't been too bad. This needle minder is from Allison Rosen at It's Charm School. I love her needle minders and I have many. So this is part 1 and part 2, and I will be getting to part 3 soon. I do want to keep up with this stitch along. I'm having a lot of fun with it so far, and it's going to be like a pretty good size piece. It's going to be square, and I think, you know, it's very manageable to do the little sections that are coming out every 2 weeks, but it's just like, you know, setting aside a couple of days to do it. That's the trick. Now, another stitch along that has been a little bit more challenging for me because this stitch along is not little pieces or little parts. It's been really stitch intensive. I love it though. I do love it. This is Autumn Lane Stitchery Dark Queen of the Seas, and these some of these sections they're monthly, and some of them have been very, very intense. April's section wasn't bad. It was just this trident and a little bit of coral. But May's section was all of this, which May doesn't look that bad, but I actually went and like counted it up and it is well over 5,000 stitches. So it is a lot of stitching. I'm stitching her on the called for fabric, and I will not have May completed by Monday, the last day of May. It's not going to happen, but that's okay. I think I can still catch up. Oh, I don't have... Okay, I got to get my cover. I got to get my booby covers. So some of you are going, what? This pattern it comes with different, like, choose your own adventure on this pattern. And so this version, she is covered up, but there's another version where she is topless, and I stitched the topless version. And just for anyone with some delicate sensibilities, you all know I don't really care about that, but I'm going to try to be respectful, and I'm going to cover up the nipples before I show you. So that's what I'm doing right now. Okay. I had to take off her nipple covers because of where she was in the Q-snap. That's why she was topless. Okay, now she's covered. I'm stitching her on the called for, the special fabric from Under the Sea fabrics called Bewitched, a 32 count linen. So there, she's all covered up now. So I have started down on the May section. I got a good start down there, but there's a lot to go still. I did get April done with the trident. I skipped the March section, which was these little triangles up here at the top. The March section was actually the lightest section. It was these triangles, the crown, and the antlers. And I haven't quite decided. I'm definitely going to make a change there. I just don't know what yet. So I skipped March entirely. Honestly, I think she's looking okay without it. But yeah, there she is. A lot of stitching. I do want to try to catch up. I believe my best guess is that June and July are going to be the rest of the tentacles. Like you can kind of see a shadow outline of a tentacle here and then a tentacle here. But it looks like less than here. So I'm thinking June and July I can keep plugging away at this and hopefully, you know, catch up eventually. She's beautiful. Oh, I did change her hair too, if you didn't notice. That was another change I made. So, my lunchtime stitching project has been Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Cozy Cafe Stitch Along. I could not resist. I tried, but I could not resist. Part 3 just came out this last couple days, and part 3 is this, the Earl Grey tea. So I did complete part 1, and then I started on part 2. These actually, this stitches up really fast. I only stitch on it like 20 minutes a day and not every day. So I just haven't quite gotten part 2 done yet, but here's part 1 over here, all done. And then I've got a good start on part 2, and then I'll move on to part 3. This is 20 count Petty Point Ada. I'm doing all the called for DMC except I did change on the scallops here. The 2 colors that are called for on these scallops, I think they just weren't working on my fabric. You can see they're kind of like a yellowy creamy color, and that was not working with this cool gray. So I switched mine to like really pale gray. So just one slight little tweak there. Wow, I just realized that all of my works in progress are stitch alongs. Alice in Wonderland, Dark Queen, Cozy Cafe, and Modern Folk Embroidery, Fruits of Plenty. So this is not a mystery stitch along, but it is a stitch along. However, not a mystery. You can see the whole pattern right here. But we've only gotten, we're working our way down. So we've got the top bit, except for this is June. This is June that's going to come out. So January, February, March, April, May, and then June over here is next. I am almost caught up. I have not finished May yet. It's my current project. I was just working on it last night. I'm almost caught up with May. So I just have to fill in this little cartouche in here, which is actually pretty stitch heavy because it's almost full coverage a little bit, but it shouldn't take too long. I'm stitching this on 40 count Fortnite fabrics, in the color Caravan Tan. I absolutely love this fabric. It is a delight. Like, I love the color, of course, but I actually love the fabric. The feel of their fabric is so nice. I'm using 2 colors. They are Valdani silks. The colors are like numbers. So I think it's S. I don't, you know what, I'm going to tell you wrong. It's O511 and S153, I believe. Which one of those is like a mossy green and one of those is called Deep Sea, or maybe it's called Black Sea, and that's the navy. Anyway, very happy with my colors. Unfortunately, I'm not taking this out of the Q-Snap to show you guys the whole thing. You've seen it before. I can't do it because I'm currently working on this and I don't feel like taking it out and then loading it back up, but next time I'll show you the whole piece. This Grime Guard was made for me by Lolly at Lollipop Stitches. It's a Star Wars Grime Guard that she picked out for me because she knew I would like it, and I do. I love it. Okay, and then my last work in progress was a new start. I started Owl Forest Embroidery Enchanted Forest. This is a kit. Came with everything. Fabric, floss, everything. So, I am doing Owl Forest Maynia with Mary Ashcraft and Memphis Sarah. If I remember, I will link their channels below. They have Flosstube channels. And I don't know why, but they decided they wanted to stitch all their Owl Forest stuff for Maynia, and I was like, yeah, I just bought a ton of Owl Forest stuff. That sounds good to me. So that's what I've been doing. I am going to start another Owl Forest probably today, and then I want to get one more in for the weekend before the end of May. So next video you should be seeing 2 more Owl Forest projects that I'm gonna start. I am absolutely obsessed with these right now. Their floss is so good. It's so good, and the patterns are just really fun. Their style is like all these little motifs, and so they're really fun to stitch because you just keep getting like little mini finishes as you go. And then they're really hard to put down because you're like, just one more, I'm just gonna do one, I'm just gonna do this little flower, I'm just gonna do this little thing here. And so it's like, it's very motivating. And like I said, they're hard to put down because they're so fun. So I started in the center on this, and I think I got a lot of progress here. So this is the fabric that came with the kits, like a 32 count witch elt, and then all of their over dyed floss. So here's where I'm at. This is the bottom. There is some more, there's a little bit up here, and then I'll have reached the top. So it's stitching up pretty fast. I think this was like 3 days of stitching. Really fun. Really, really fun. So I am obsessed. And I wanted to show because somebody had asked me in the comments about this, about the pattern. So the kits are super nice, and I know people have done unboxings of their kits, but somebody had told me they had bought the kit and then they were confused because when they opened the pattern, they saw, I'm going to kind of hold this back, they saw these little like squares with like scissor cutout lines around them, and they were like, oh my god, do I have to like cut it out and tape it together and like make my own pattern? That, you know, that seems a little like confusing and not fun, which I would agree. But keep looking, keep going through your kit. You should have an actual pattern where you don't have to cut. It's like actually the pattern. And then what they do is they take little sections and make them where you can cut them out so that you can work just from that section. Like where you can clip it to your project, or put it like with your needle minder, you know, magnet it to your project so that you can work on that little section without having to deal with the big, huge pattern. Because these patterns are huge, which I love. I mean, gosh, look at it. These are huge, big clear as awesome patterns, beautiful patterns. But this is a little unwieldy for my stand or to clip on my chart. So that's why they have where you can cut out these little sections that are a little more manageable that you can set on your stand or pin to your project. So no, you don't have to try to cut these out and tape them together. You just cut out the section you're working on, and then you refer back to your big pattern and make sure your placement's right. And then you like cut out the next little section that you're working on. I think that's kind of brilliant. I mean, it wouldn't have occurred to me, but I like it. I do. And the kits are very, very nice. Very nice. Okay. So that was all my works in progress. So, I got really thirsty. I feel like I've been talking a while. Oh, I need to tell you guys what I'm drinking. Oh my gosh. I am obsessed. LaCroix. I don't even buy LaCroix. I buy the off-brand. At our grocery store, we have a brand called Refreshy or Refreshy, and it's like half the price of LaCroix, and it's great. So that's what we buy. But we were at Costco and they had these like fun summery flavors of LaCroix. So this one's limoncello, and it is so good. I cannot, like, I am obsessed. So if you see the limoncello LaCroix, it's good, y'all. It's not, I buy like the lemon, plain like lemon, off-brand sparkling water, which is fine. No, limoncello, it's like creamy vanilla lemon. It tastes like essence of a glazed lemon loaf cake. It is real good. Highly recommend. Okay, so I did not buy very many things. I really didn't. Just a couple. I've been super good. So let me show you what I got. I had to get this new pattern. This is Trans Pride Tapestry. It's from D Stitches. I will link that below. And this is going to be a stitch along in June for Pride Month. And it's original art by Carrie Nacken, patterned by D20. So I'll link that below so you can get it. You can like find it and get this pattern if you like. Here's the, this was like a mock-up. Here's the model stitch of this. And then this is like a computer generated mock-up. Absolutely gorgeous. So I had to go get that like as soon as I saw it. I love the design. Of course, I love Trans Pride, celebrating Pride Month, all the things. But actually just the design is so beautiful. I mean, on its own, it's just beautiful. There are going to be some hashtags for this stitch along. Where'd they go? Stitch 4 Pride, but it's going to be the number 4. So stitch number 4 Pride and Trans Pride Tapestry. So I will definitely be starting this next week. Because next week is June. And I'm super excited. Super excited. And one thing that obviously it's not going to show up in the picture, this unicorn is stitched with sparkle floss. It calls for DMC Diamant, which I have not tried yet, but have really, really wanted to try. So I'm definitely getting that. And of course, if you don't want to do that, you can use like plain old DMC Blanc or whatever. But I want to get that Diamant and give that a try. I'm really excited. So it's going to be sparkly. I love it. I love it. So also, I think they're donating a portion of the proceeds from the sale of this to organizations that help like at-risk trans youth, and I can't remember. I think it was like 3 different organizations. So purchasing this pattern, like you are also going to be helping people in need, but also like the pattern is so good. So you should buy it because it's beautiful. So next video, you guys should be able to see my start on that. I'm so excited. Okay, so what else did I get? I went to Winter Park a couple of weeks ago for a weekend getaway. My boyfriend went to snowboard. I don't know how to do that. Okay, like, this is a whole tangent, but okay, like, I did not grow up with money, and snowboarding and skiing is a very, very pricey activity. Also, I think my parents probably like had zero interest in ever doing that, even if we did have the money. But anyway, I never skied or snowboarded or anything like that. And then now that I am a grown-ass woman, I'm pretty sure I would really hurt myself. So I haven't worked up like the nerve to give it a try yet. So anyway, when I go with my boyfriend, I go do other stuff. So like while he's on the slopes. So I went to a quilt store that I really love up in that area, and it's called the Fabric Nook. And I got a bunch of quilty stuff, but they also had like this tiny little cross stitch section, which was just so cute. So I got this little kit from Tuva. It's called Beehive. It looks like it'll stitch up really fast. And then I found this old Leisure Arts book, and it's full of la-di-da designs. This is not hard to find. Well, in a way, I looked it up online. To find a paper copy like this, it is hard to find. However, on the Leisure Arts website, you can buy this whole book as a PDF, and I think it was like $8. So like, you can get these patterns. You might not be able to get this booklet, but you can get all of these patterns as a PDF. And there are some really, really, really cute patterns in here. So I grabbed that while I was there. I wanted to just show you guys some maybe that weren't on the back. Well, it doesn't matter. There's more than what's shown here. So that was just a random impulse purchase. So what else did I get? Oh, just one other thing. And I didn't buy this. My mom, when I was visiting my mom, and I found this. I found this in her stuff. She does not cross stitch. She never has. I have no idea why she had this kit. Maybe she like bought it thinking she was gonna give it a try or something. I don't know. But it's Mary Englebright, and it's called Teacup Mouse, and it's super cute. So I was just going through like her quilting magazines and stuff, and this was like in there, and I was like, oh! And she was like, oh, you can have that. I'm never gonna stitch. I'm never gonna do it. And I was like, thank you, taking that back with me. So that's it. That was all of my haul. I told you I was really good. I barely got anything. So that's all this stitching stuff. I think we're doing good on time. I think we're doing good this time. So I'm going to talk about books. So if you don't care to hear about books, then you can leave now and you won't miss anything, I promise. So book talk. Okay, that sounded like book talk, T-O-K, which is not a thing I do. Book talk. Book talk. I read 3 books. That's not great for me, right? I usually in 2 weeks read 3 or 4, and it's been 3 weeks and I've only read 3. But I am currently in a reread of Voyager, the 3rd Outlander book, and that book is almost 1,000 pages, and it's just taken a while. Okay, but I'm hoping I'll be done next video. I'm more than halfway through. Okay. Also, you know, when I was traveling, like, you just don't read as much when you're traveling. So, but read a couple books. So, my buddy read with my friend Andrea, Stitchy Bookworm. She had never read Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I had read it, but it had been maybe 5 years since I read it. And I wanted to reread it. So I wanted to reread it. She wanted to read it. So we did. So we buddy read. Uprooted by Naomi Novik. And I love this book. I love Naomi Novik. She is such a great writer. So she writes like it's adult fantasy, but it's like, it feels like a classic fairy tale, but it's her own. Like, it's not she's not telling you a classic fairy tale. Like, sometimes she's inspired by a classic fairy tale, but she puts her own spin on it. So Spinning Silver, I talked about not too long ago, was like a Rumpelstiltskin inspired story, but she really does make it like her own thing. She's heavily influenced by Russian Slavic folklore, but again, it's not just a retelling of like a Russian folklore story. It's her own spin on it, but there's a little bit of influence there. I really, really have enjoyed everything I've read by her, and this book was no exception. This was actually the first thing I ever read by her. So this features, the main character is Agnieszka, and she lives in this small little town. It's kind of like, where she lives is sort of like a medieval, like old version of, sort of like inspired by Poland, or it's an Eastern Europe setting. And there is a wood, a dark, like evil, twisted wood that is encroaching into like these peasant lands. And there's like this dark, insidious magic where, you know, the people cannot go into the woods because they will be taken by the woods. But sometimes even like the creatures from the woods like come out and kind of harass the towns. So it's very perilous and dangerous and scary. But these people are really tied to their land, and they're kind of poor, so like they don't have any choice but to like stay where they are. There is a wizard who is tasked with kind of watching over these borderlands and just kind of like trying to keep them as safe as he can, and trying to keep the wood from further encroaching and stealing more land from the people. So he's a wizard. He's called the Dragon. He lives in this tower, and he kind of like oversees this area. Every like 10 years or so, the dragon comes down to the villages, and he chooses a girl who must go with him and serve him for a period of 10 years. And no one really knows like what happens, what these girls have to do. After 10 years, they are like released back to their home, but none of them will talk about what happened, and they all like leave and move to the city and like never come back. So the assumption is like he forces them to be, that they're servants or slaves, and that, you know, he's probably like sexually abusing them and all this stuff. The girls say, no, he never touched me, but like nobody believes them. So it's not an honor or something good to be chosen by the dragon. It's, you know, it's scary and horrible and not something you want. This is not really spoilery. Like, this is in the synopsis and like, you know, the first chapter or two. So Agnieszka is of an age where she could potentially be chosen by the dragon. And it's time for a new choosing ceremony. But everybody is like sure that her best friend is actually going to be the one who's chosen. I think her, Kasia is her name, because she's beautiful and whatever, and like everybody's like sure it's going to be her. So he actually chooses Agnieszka, which nobody, you know, sees coming. And so she wasn't even like mentally prepared like to be ripped away from her family, because she just never in a million years thought she would be chosen. And so she is. And then this, you know, this happens in like the first chapter, and then she goes to the dragon's tower, and thus starts our book. Once these girls are chosen for the service to the dragon, like they can't communicate with their family, like for 10 years, like no communication at all. So Agnieszka gets to the tower and finds that, you know, what she thought was going to be happening to her, or what she assumed had always been happening with these girls, was not actually the case. And so the dragon is a wizard. He has magic. Everybody knows that. What people don't know is that when he chooses a girl every 10 years, that girl has magic as well. So Agnesia discovers that she has ability to do magic. And then he's basically training her. It's like an apprenticeship, in a way. But it's a little more than that. It's dark and twisty. This is how Naomi Novik writes. Things are unsettling and creepy in her books. But she is a beautiful writer, and she's just so imaginative. I really liked this book the first time I read it, but I liked it much, much, much more the second time I read it, because although I didn't remember everything, I didn't remember all the plot points, I remembered enough that I could just fall into the story, because I wasn't worried about, is this a good person? Is this a bad person? What's going on with this thing over here? And like, I could just kind of sit and enjoy the story. The first time I read it, I was really unsettled. I didn't know who to trust or what motives were for people. And so there were certain characters that like I was just really on edge about the whole time. And this time I kind of knew, like, okay, that person does not end up betraying them. That person actually is a good person. Like, and I could just kind of really fall more into the story. So it really went from like a 4-star read to a 5-star read for me on reread. But my friend Andrea, you know, she liked it, but she was like, I don't know, like something was a little bit off about it. And I was like, I know what you mean, because I felt that way too the first time I read this book. But the second time it was a little bit of a different experience. I don't know what that means to you, but I mean, I still recommend this book. I still really liked it the first time I read it. I liked it a lot more the second time I read it. Really, really interesting book. There are definitely like some Slavic folklore influences in this book, but again, she makes her own thing of it. So there's like definitely like a Baba Yaga character, but it's her own spin on Baba Yaga. So that was really cool to see, just to see some of those little callbacks. That was fun. Okay, so then I read a book that I have some thoughts about this book. Okay, I'm going to try to do the overlay instead of the insert. So hopefully you're seeing a picture right now of Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. I'm not entirely sure how to say that last name. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, this is a new to me author, but she actually is popular for her series. I had it a minute ago, it just flew right out. I'll put it in here if I can figure out. It's like the Gentleman's Guide to something. What is it called? Why can't I remember? So this is a Stalking Jack the Ripper, maybe. This is a popular series by her, which I had not read. Okay, so the reason I picked up Kingdom of the Wicked is because I kept seeing it recommended for fans of From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and for fans of Sarah J. Maas. So basically, like, people were like, oh, I just finished A Court of Silver Flames and I have such a book hangover and I don't, like, nothing sounds good. I don't know what to read next. Or like, I just finished From Blood and Ash and I have a book hangover. What do I read now? And people kept recommending, like, this book, read Kingdom of the Wicked. So it was available at my library. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll give it a go. I think it's categorized as young adult fantasy. Not new adult, I don't think. I think it gets filed as young adult. And I can see why, because this book is not steamy, it is not spicy at all. And I'm really interested why people would recommend it as like something to read if you really liked A Court of Silver Flames, or if you really liked From Blood and Ash, like, read this. I don't see it. And not just because of like the spicy scenes, but let me tell you, like, I did kind of expect maybe there was gonna be a little bit of like steaminess in this book. Okay, no. At like 83% in, there is a kiss. And then the book is over. Like that's it. That's all the spice and all the steam. So I really don't know why. I don't see the connection at all. I really don't. But even setting that aside, I just didn't really like this book. So the plot is going to be even hard for me to tell you because I finished it like 2 weeks ago and it has already like flown out of my head, like most of it. But essentially what I remember is we start, it's Italy, but it's like older Italy, maybe like, I don't know, 1700s maybe. And there are witches, okay? And our main character who we're following through the whole book is a witch. But witches are in hiding. It's secret. Nobody knows about them because they would be hunted and burned. So witches are practicing like underground. And then there are the 7 deadly sins are embodied as like demons from hell. So they can occasionally visit like the mortal realm in like a physical human shape, but mostly like they're living in this other realm, other dimension, but like sometimes they can come to earth, okay? And then sometimes they can be summoned by witches to come to earth. So our main witch, Amelia, has a twin sister who is murdered, and so she summons a demon because she's trying to figure out like why and what happened. This is not a spoiler. This is like on the back of the book. So anyway, the demon she summons, she means to summon like a lesser demon, but she summons one of the 7 like deadly sins. So she summons wrath, and that's the love interest. And it's just a mess. Okay. This book was a mess. I really don't get it. Like I said, I've never read this author before, but there is a booktuber I really like, Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. And she has said before in her videos that she cannot get into this author, Carrie Maniscalco or whatever, however you say it. And she's like, I just don't like her writing. Like I've read like a couple of her books and I never like them. And she's like, they're super popular and I really don't know why. And like, I haven't read Stalking Jack the Ripper or whatever the other series is, but I can see it. I can see it. There's something hard to pinpoint about her writing style. Like, she's not a bad writer in like sentence structure and construction. Like, that's all fine. But something just falls really flat about these characters. Like, really, really, really flat. And I think the thing that was really bothering me was the whole book was, you know, have you ever heard the phrase, especially for writing, like, and for filmmaking, show, don't tell? Like, you need to show me, you need to give me the info so that I can piece it together myself. Show, don't tell. But this book is like, tell. Like, the whole book, oh my God, it's just like hitting you over the head with what's going on. And I don't know, like, I feel like, is that for people who like just aren't very smart? Like, I don't know why why would you write that way? I don't get it. The whole book is like, Amelia is having this internal monologue of trying to solve this mystery about her sister. And you read this internal monologue of her literally just being like, why did he do that? Why would he do that? Was it because of this? Was it because of this? Maybe it was because of this. Maybe it could have been because of this. But if it was because of that, why would it be that way? I mean, that was like her internal monologue, like just paragraphs of her just being like, why? And you're just like, it's very tedious to read. Like I said, like, show me, like, let her go find stuff and see stuff and piece it together, and I can piece it together with her. Like, don't just tell me everything. So it was very frustrating to not like that writing style at all. And honestly, like, it was just, really a pretty boring book, and not much happened, and not much of it made any sense. And then like this whole like romance that was supposed to be going on like wasn't. I already talked about how there was no steam. There were no steamy scenes, but even there wasn't even like the tension and the angst of like that attraction. Like Amelia and Wrath like do not like each other straight up. They just don't like each other. They're forced to work together. They really, even by the end of the book, like it's still not a romance. Like I don't know where people are getting this from. Like there's no like pining. There's no like, oh, I don't like her, but I'm strangely attracted to her. Or, you know, like I hate him, but God, he's hot. He's so hot. Like there's no like explanation for how this is going to be a romance. I don't understand it at all. The book ends on a cliffhanger. It's a series. I think the second book's actually out now. I'm not going to bother, and that's very rare for me. Usually once I start a series, I will continue it. Like, unless it is really bad, I'll push through, because a lot of times for me, like the first book of a series is the weak book, and I usually don't love it, but then I'll love like the next 2 or 3 books. So, that's how bad this was. Like, I cannot even like bring myself to try the second book. I have zero interest in these people. I think it was a really cool premise. I liked the setting of Italy. That was cool, but like the book just did not work for me. It fell really flat. Not good. I did not like this at all. If you really liked it, like that's cool, but it was not for me. And I do not recommend it for people From Blood and Ash, nor people who are fans of A Court of Silver Flames. Okay, but then I was redeemed because I read a wonderful book. Oh, it's so good. Okay, so this book, I kept seeing people talk about this book on BookTube and whatever. I kept seeing it come up, and I have never heard one bad thing about this book. I have only heard like, I loved this book so much. And it is a contemporary romance. This is a new genre for me. I'm just starting to get into. Really, most recently, I think what kind of started me off in this genre was Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I loved. Previously, I really had no interest in contemporary romance. I love historical romance. Was not interested in contemporary, but I'm starting to dip my toe in. But I think I'm going to be spoiled because I'm reading like the really good ones first, and then I think after that they're probably going to be a little lackluster, but I don't care because this book was so good. And it is Get Alive, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is actually the first of 3 featuring the Brown sisters. So there's Get Alive, Chloe Brown, there's Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and then the last one is Act Your Age, Eve Brown. Like I said, I have heard nothing but rave reviews for these books, and for good reason. This book was so good. So it is set, one thing I was surprised, I don't know why, but I kind of assumed these were like American based. These are actually set in England, but that's not a big deal, but just it is what it is. So Chloe Brown is a disabled main character. So she has fibromyalgia and chronic pain, and that is something that is definitely like talked about in the book, but it isn't like the end all be all. It's just like, you know, something, it's just a part of her, which I thought was really cool. How, you know, we saw a little bit of a different protagonist than what we would typically see in a romance. She's also like a plus size, like fluffy girl. And that was in, you know, fun representation as well. Also, she's Black. So, you know, just like a little bit more diversity than I think a lot of contemporary romance books contain. The love interest is Red, and he's this like motorcycle dude. Anyway, it was really cute. So what to say, like, I don't really know what to say about the plot. Like, there wasn't a lot of plot. But Chloe Brown basically because of her disability, she's like stayed in her house and she's sheltered and she never does anything and she has no social life. The book starts with her having like a near-death experience, and she decides, I gotta get a life, because if I had died today, like, wow, like how sad that, you know, there's nothing to say for my life. So she makes this list, this bucket list of like things that she wants to do to like live a more fun, fulfilling life. And the first thing she does is move out of her parents' house into an apartment where her super red and her, they keep like butting heads and clashing. So they don't like each other at first. At some point they are thrown together and they need each other's help. He needs help with building a website to launch a new business, and she needs his help for crossing off some things on her bucket list. And then that's where, you know, the story goes from there. And they fall in love. I mean, it's a contemporary, this isn't a spoiler. It's a contemporary romance. Like, they're going to fall in love and they're going to be happily ever after, right? But the way it happens is just really, really, really cute. The writing in this book is so good. Like, just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, just the voice of this author is very easy to read, but very entertaining, really clever and witty, and hilarious. Like, several times when I was reading this book, I like snorted laughing out loud because there were moments that are just so funny. And they're not even like the slapstick comedy funny, like of like, you know, like, so she fell and this happened and that happened. It was more like the internal dialogue that these characters have was so relatable and hilarious. Like, you know, like one of them would say something and then internally would be like, why did I say that out loud? That was so stupid. Oh my God, I'm awkward. This is so awkward. Like stuff like that, which was very relatable and really funny. But there were just lots of moments that were just hilarious, but also really cute, really sweet, really romantic. It was just delightful, fast, easy to read, as most romances are. One thing I liked about this book, and I saw someone mention this on, I think they were talking about the second book, which I haven't read yet, but one thing they mentioned, so romance, historical romance, and I believe contemporary romance, which I haven't read as much of, gets really formulaic, and they always like have these beats that they have to hit where it's like, you know, there's always what they call like a third act conflict where the two characters have finally like admitted their love for each other, but then like something drives a wedge in between them. Like, you know, one of them finds out a secret about the other, or, you know, there's a mistaken, or there's a misunderstanding, but like something always like splits them apart in the third act, but then they get back together by the end. And it's very formulaic, and it happens in like every romance. And sometimes it's just really tedious because you're like, they finally got together. They finally admitted they loved each other. Like, oh, why do we have to have this like drama? Ugh. So, somebody was saying like Talia Hibbert doesn't do that, or if she does, it's like, it's much like of a less like impact, and the characters get over it like really quick. And I like that. Like, I can see that there was just this little bitty conflict, but they like immediately resolved it. So it's not this like drug out, like they separated, they want nothing to do with each other, and then, you know, then they got to get back together. Like it happens a little bit, but I think she definitely like didn't like get too formulaic, and I appreciated that, and I think that's another reason I like this a lot. But regardless, it's written really, really well. It's really a good book, and again, I have not heard one person say one bad thing about this book or the other two, and I absolutely cannot wait to read the other two in this series. Absolutely delightful contemporary romance. If you want to dip your toe, this is a fantastic place to start. And if you already love romance and you haven't read this one, definitely you need to read this book. All right, that is all of my book talk. So those are the 3 books I read. I am Tired, but I am done. We made it through. I do think this video is shorter than my usual, so yay, we did it. If you watched this far, thank you for sticking with me till the bitter end. I know some of you do. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.